Hey, hello there, and welcome to Talking with Tony. We're on YouTube. If you're new to Talking with Tony, it's worth going over once again. This is the best in sports, the best in books, movies, and music. This is season 14 of Talking with Tony, but the previous 13 seasons, it required a subscription to WOW in the Atlanta market to be able to see it. No more. Now you can access it all free on YouTube. And that gets you to people like today, my guest, our college football analyst, Danny Art. He's going to help us with some picks this weekend. He's also a football analyst. College, just saying college isn't fair enough to him because he's also in the NFL. And Danny's now a little bit over 500 against the spread. As you can see, I am doing far better. I am 14-6. And if it went for a couple of really late scores, including one by my Buckeyes, fortunately, I might be 15-5 or 16-6 because I was a push and there was a Monday night push as well. But Danny is crawled up. He was under a couple of weeks ago. He's now over 500. And last week, his 5-star also won. So welcome to the fray of another week of picks, Danny. And I know you're going to do very well.
Oh, yeah. Very excited to be here. I know I was traveling a little bit for work and had to send you my picks through the phone. And I definitely did much better on the second go round with the phone picks through text. So I'm hoping I do well on camera. So, I don't get relegated just to be a telephone picker.
Well, here's the other thing that, when just came to mind when you just said that. If I would have told you Danny was our senior class president back when we were in high school together, but if I would have told you, hey, you'd be sending me some football picks through a phone at some point one day back then, what in the world would you have thought? What are you talking about?
I don't know. You might have actually thought that it was possible because you're always a little bit ahead on technology. I mean, the first time I met you, ninth grade, you were sitting over there on the bleachers. You were you were messing with your watch, and I'm like, "What is this guy doing?" I didn't know you. I went over and said, "Hey, what are you doing over there, buddy?" He's like, "I'm playing football." So you're always well ahead of everybody else in technology. So
that part of the story is true. I had a football game, a basketball game, and a baseball game on my watch. So if class ever got boring, I had an opportunity to just put that sucker on mute and play it. You're right about that. All right, we're going to give you some football picks, folks, a little bit later on. We're going to talk about the Ryder Cup here shortly, but it is Auburn, Georgia, which is still kind of an adjustment for those of us who have watched this game. In fact, I didn't miss this game. I was there in person from 1983 to 2019. And it was always in November, but they did move it earlier, starting I guess in 2020, and it's here. Both sides actually. I did some investigating, wanted it done. Georgia wanted more separation from the Florida game, and Auburn wanted more separation from the Alabama game. So it was a mutual thing but it just doesn't seem right to be playing and it being that warm. But I have to, since Danny's, obviously spent a great deal of time in Athens, and I spent time in Auburn and in Athens, I thought it was only fair that we share some of our favorite memories of the Auburn, Georgia series. And I have, several. Now, I've got some that I want to mention that did not make my cut, okay? And people might be like, what? That 83 game is special to me. It was the first one. It was over in Athens. Auburn won 13-7 and went on and won the SEC. That game, Auburn completely dominated Georgia. Clarence Hay, I believe, scored a late touchdown for the Dogs, and then Georgia got the onside kick. So it was like all Auburn the entire game, and then it looked like at the very end, Georgia might steal it from them. They weren't able to. And then Jeff, I can't remember his last name, but he was from Griffin, Georgia, Jeff Jackson sealed the victory for Auburn with an interception in that game. 2010 is important because, Auburn needed that victory to go on and eventually win the national championship. 2017 to me is important. Georgia was number one in the country, and they came here and Auburn won. But those don't make my cut. What I will give you two, and then I'll come back and give you two more that do. In 93, I was a student, and Auburn was undefeated. And Georgia, the odds makers gave us a gift. They had Georgia as a favorite. And Auburn had this incredible offense, and Auburn wins 42-28. Big day for Reed McMillan, the fullback, and Chris Shellen intercepted a pass and ran it back for a touchdown. But just being from the state of Georgia and being a student at the time at Auburn and all meant a lot to me to win that game and keep us undefeated, and then would beat Alabama to be actually Auburn was the only undefeated team in 1993. And then 99, I left Athens in October of 99, and in November of 99, Auburn goes and plays at UGA, and UGA is a 10-point favorite. Hap Hines has told me, he was a member of the Georgia team, told me it's the worst day of his life. Auburn led 30-0 at halftime, and the crowd actually booed the Georgia players there in Athens as they left the field. And the crowd, to their credit, Danny, stayed the entire time at halftime. Auburn got the ball first, start second half, and they went down, scored a touchdown, went up 38-0, and Sanford Stadium just emptied. It was like everybody was saying, all right, let's see what the Dogs, can do. And Georgia didn't quit. They made a little bit of a rally in the fourth quarter, but a couple of coaches actually were fired the next day on Sunday, including the defensive back coach. But those are two of mine, 93 and 99, and I've got two more recently to share soon. I got to have equal time, though, and have you share a couple or three or whatever you want to do of your favorite ones.
All right. Well, I do have some favorite ones, just like you said. On the my first favorite is going to be the one you talked about, and we both decide that we both have a favorite in the same year, which seems weird, but it's 2017. Right now, the loss was super devastating to me because I felt like that was the year we were going to make a turn. Georgia was going to make the turn, 2017. And we had a great year, and the loss just devastated me. And then I went ahead and made the ticket purchase and went to the SEC championship game. But I woke up that morning with great confidence. And, of course, we won the SEC championship with on the back of Swift running the ball on you. And it was
27.
Correct. That was probably my all-time favorite Georgia Auburn game. Okay, but my best memory is the 2002 game, right? Because that sort of blew the lid off of Georgia being in the dumps and being the laughing stock of the East. And I always tell the story. It was 37 days after my second daughter was born. Allie was born, and she's, as you've mentioned on the show, the junior at Georgia this year. And she was born with colic, and she had literally cried for 36 days straight. And I was going to work, leaving her at home with my wife, Jana. And I told Jana, I said, look, she knew how much I love Georgia football. She said, look, I can't do it. You got to watch the kids. So I'm downstairs holding Allie on my arm, crying the entire game. I mean, the entire game in tears, screaming in my ear. And I'm thinking, okay, well, she's not going to be the only one screaming tonight because we're losing. And then all of a sudden, the miracle, as you call it, the push-off, I call it the miraculous catch. Michael Johnson makes the catch from David Green back at the end zone. Dogs win it. And I'm telling you right now, Anthony, from that moment on, Allie never cried again, dude. And that's when I knew she was going to be a Bulldog fan for the rest of her time. So 2002, a good year for me as well.
Yeah, it's a great year. A great friend of mine was on that Georgia team, Ryan Schnetzer. And to your point on the 2017, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot they even played in a rematch in the SEC championship. So I appreciate you, reminding me that. In fact, Auburn hasn't won in the series since 2017. So people have been saying, you got to go to the game because you only lost the 2017 SEC championship game, the 2018 and the 2019. That's right. This is all on these other people going. But, to be honest with you, there was a time where Auburn led that series by 6 or 7 games, and that's exactly the advantage that Georgia has. I have two more. In 2004, Ryan Schnetzer was also on this team. He actually started at center in this game, and that was a weird day for me. Both teams were in the top 5. The game was at Jordan-Hare, and Ryan and I were so close at the time. And he's an orthopedic doctor now. He is just a wonderful person. But and he's from Noonan, Georgia, Noonan High School. But it was such joy for me to see him out there doing what he loved to do. And, Mark Richt often said that he was the toughest kid on the team. And he had earned his way into a starting position with the Bulldogs. So it was a weird day because Auburn dominated Georgia. Georgia was really good. I mean, Georgia's top 5 team and had incredible talent on this team. But Auburn had them shut out to the final minute. It was 24-0. And Leonard Pope, I don't know if you remember him, the huge tight caught a touchdown pass to avoid the shutout. Auburn won 24-6, but it was mixed emotions for me because I know Ryan was disappointed. But to even see him there, I was actually sitting in the end zone in that game, not in my normal seats, and Georgia was warming up in front of me. And to be able to see Ryan just participate in all of that, it was a special day, and I was awfully glad that that Auburn won. And then the 2013, I mean, any Auburn person that doesn't put that on for Jordan-Hare is going to be an idiot. I mean, Georgia really deserved to win the way they came back. in that contest, and it was a fluke. It was fourth down and all. And Trey Matthews, who of course I know very well from Noonan, Georgia, and playing at Georgia and playing at Auburn, had his hands on it. So, transferring. But yeah, I have to put that on there. Then I have to share one more thing. In '96, the Dogs win, and I'm in the student section at Auburn, even though I'm living in Athens at the time. And below me, Brandon Tolbert, linebacker. A lot of people forget about Brandon, but Brandon was a really good football player, and he lived below me. And Auburn led at one time in this game 28-7. But at 21-7, we scored right in front of me. And Brandon notices me. I'm in like the fourth row, and he just like, he points at me and starts just shaking his head, almost to look at me like, we can't stop him. Brian Smith had been playing some quarterback for UGA, and then Hines Ward had to play some, quarterback there that day for UGA. UGA makes a great rally in the second half and then scores on basically the last play of regulation or very, very late on a touchdown pass. I want to say the guy's name was Corey Allen, but I'm not positive.
That's right, Corey Allen. Yep.
And then, the rest is history. 4 overtimes. It was really the first marquee overtime college football game, and Georgia won 56-49.
Well, let me give you one more story about 2013, because again, even though it was a loss for my Dogs, it was still one of my favorite Georgia Auburn moments. And Aaron Murray is my guy. Loved Aaron Murray, right? I thought he'd be the guy to get it. It's a shame he never got his SEC championship. But anyway, I just moved back to Lagrange, so you'll enjoy this. And our neighbor, I was renting a house while I was looking to buy one, so our neighbor was filming Thompson. Okay, you remember, right?
I remember filming.
Phil was a big Auburn guy, right? So I made him. I'm going to say it was a mistake, but I had invited him over to watch the game with us. So it's myself, Allie, who was at the time was 11, the one I just told you about, who's the Dog fan from birth, right? And so she is in typical Bulldog fashion. She'd been to plenty of games because when we lived in Covington, we went to the games all the time. So she was a little Bulldog, had her pom-pom, and the entire game when Aaron Murray, he runs three straight scores, right? Unanswered points, 21 unanswered points to take the lead. And she's got this pom-pom in Philman's face. And when I tell you, she is giving it to him in Bulldog style, right? Well, as soon as the prayer at Jordan Hare happens and you score, this grown man turns around and shoves my 11-year-old Bulldog fan onto the couch and says, "Take that, you little punk." And she runs out crying in tears. And I'm like, Philman's was a preacher and all, I'm like, you pushed an 11-year-old kid, dude. And I kicked him out of my house. So he didn't speak for a week. And then the next week, oddly enough, I come home on Saturday. He says, "Hey, come over here. Let's make up. Watch the Auburn." Was it the next week? It was the very next week, right? The Alabama-Auburn game, or it may have been a bye week before. It was a bye week, so it was 2 weeks. Anyway, I come over there, and I was like, I refuse to come. I'm not going to come see it. And as I walk in, that's right when y'all had the kick six. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen in my life, 2 weeks in a row like that. But I just wanted to put that out there. Philman was abusing my child over Auburn football.
You're sharing that story. Remind me, Tara's one of the most docile people that I know, and she never really expects Auburn to win. She's kind of laid back. We were over in Athens one year. It's been within the last 10 years. It was a Georgia victory, and it may be. I don't remember if it's 2014 or 2016. It's something like that. But we're really close to the UGA student section. Okay, the Auburn seats in, and the next section, the UGA students. But some of the UGA students had filtered in to behind us. There were 2 of these boys, rednecks. These were not students. These are just country boys smoking. You're not even supposed to be smoking inside Sanford Stadium. Anyway, I have a Burberry coat on, and it's a really nice coat. And they keep I didn't notice this. Tara noticed this. They keep getting closer and closer with their cigarettes to my coat. They want to say that I backed into it and stuff. So Tara just says, "I'm going to tell y'all something right now. If you put a hole in that coat, he'll kick your something, and then I'm going to kick your something." And then they never lit a cigarette again the rest of the night. And they pretty much had their Auburn scored first on the opening possession and did not score again. 31-7 is thinking in my mind that what Georgia won that night.
No, 45-7 was the opening score.
No. That's another game. That's another game. Okay. That's a day game.
We've been beating y'all so bad lately.
That's a day game a couple of years later that at one time might have been 7-7 or
It
10-7.
was 7-7.
Okay, that's when we have the UGA quarterback. That's still Murray, like for sack,
Yeah.
and he gets
And he hits
away.
Bennett, hits the Bennett. Y'all got him sacked, and he hits Bennett to tie it 7-7, and it's over after that.
Michael Bennett, 82, I believe, is or something. And I know I'm not knocking a lot of I do have a lot of UGA friends that have played football at Georgia. Actually, people say, "Who's your favorite all-time Georgia player?" And I say Bobby Orr, and they don't even know who that is. Well, research it, people. You'll see why Bobby Orr is my favorite. Bobby Orr was a great guy, passed away a few years ago. Well, I've got another friend that scored I want to say he scored a touchdown in that game that you are referencing, the 45-7 beatdown, which I believe is 2014, the year after Auburn won the national championship. I believe that's right. See if you can figure it out. From Noonan, Georgia, his brother always got the accolades, the great linebacker, just retired from the NFL, but his twin brother was also a fullback on that UGA team. You remember the Ogletrees?
Alec Ogletree, number 9 for the Bulldogs. His brother was Adam. What was his brother's name? Anyway, his brother was fullback, good runner. His brother was a good back, good power back, and then Ogletree was the man, dude.
His brother just was head coach at Greenville High School last year, and he's an assistant coach at Northgate High School. But his name's Xander
Ogletree. There you go.
He's a wonderful guy. He's a wonderful guy. I'm honored to call him friend as well. Well, we've reminisced a lot. Yep. We'll get to that game a little bit later on. We're going to have to get through some other things kind of quick here. It is Ryder Cup time. Yep. And after in the show, Stormy Weathers is like, man, I got to be a part of this. Stormy lives in Lagrange. I was like, give me a few picks. And Stormy goes, well, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, because he's been watching your 5 stars. He goes, my 5-star pick is the United States over Europe. And I was like, man, I hope that you're right. I'm with you. I think the USA is going to win. The money is pouring in on Europe. USA opened up like -150 on the money line. I just checked the odds before we jumped on, Danny. The line is even now. That's how much money's coming in Europe. The first 4 matches have already been announced. And 3 of them, they've already got lines out. All 4. And 3 of them, they've got Europe favored. So Europe should get out to an early lead, one would think. But I'm revealing the United States as my pick, and now it's time for you to reveal yours.
All right. Well, again, I don't know a lot, of course, probably not like everybody, about Marco Simone golf course. What I do know is the thick is rough, right? You got to be accurate off the tee. It's not extremely long, right? That's a good thing about it. And I think the captains play into that in a good way. Zach Johnson, not a long hitter, but very precise, great putter for the Americans. Luke Donald, again, another one, not the longest, sort of sneaky long, but not the longest hitter, but a fantastic iron player, right? And was always good around the greens, which is what it's going to take to win at Marco Simone, right? Like you said, the first 4 matches have already been announced with the foursomes. I don't know. You've probably played it. I know you have. And I played an alternate shot. That is a tough format, right? I think they get out to a 3. Europe gets out to a 3-1 lead right off the bat. I think that when we get into the 4-ball stuff, you're going to get the Americans to keep it close. But I think these foursomes are going to be the problem for the U.S. And as bad as I hate to say it, come Sunday with the singles matches, Europe is going to they're going to get the cup back, man.
I can totally see it where you're right. Look, part of my pick with USA, because people who have been able to see, talking with Tony through the years, season 14, I've picked Europe more times than not, and have collected. And Europe has been extremely hard to beat on their own. So part of this is an emotional thing. You knew my dad. I lost my dad 3 years ago. His 3 favorite golfers were Steve Stricker and Zach Johnson and Jim Furyk. And all 3 of them are part of either the captain or assistant captain. And I just say, if people really know what's going on and know what's going on earth from heaven, he will be watching it. So part of that is a little emotional tie-in because of those guys. And we all like Freddie Couples, another assistant captain. And you know how big Koepka fan that I am, but I'm with you. I'm worried about foursomes, because if I'm not wrong, traditionally we're better in 4-ball anyway, and Europe is far better in foursomes. Correct,
no doubt, especially over there, right? I mean, that seems to be always the case. I think it's sort of some odd picks. I mean, they're starting the very first match off Scheffler, which of course, who wouldn't, right? That's a no-brainer. But he's playing with Burns. And again, he's starting it off with 2 people who played together already in the President's Cup once before. And They didn't even get a full point ever in any of their matches. And let's just start them off against Rom and Hat. I don't know, man. I'm nervous about it. The foursomes are the biggest question, if you ask me. I played in a golf tournament with a guy with both good golfers, and we started off. It was a 6-6-6, so we started off on the scramble portion, right? Then we did best ball. We made the turn. I said, we are literally going to win this $500, bro. You know, and we got to the foursomes part, and I mean, we went like 6 over an alternate shot after we were 6 under going in, and we didn't even place. So it's a tough format, and I don't know. I hope that the Americans get off to a good start, and we'll see what happens from there.
Got to move to the football picks, but I will say this: like you and I were teammates, of course, high school golf, and for 3 of those years, I was the number 1 player on the high school team. And I had an incredible short game. I was not good off the tee. I was straight. Y'all called me radar because I was straight. You were good off the tee. We would have been a good foursome match, as good as you were off the tee and as good as my short game is now. Now, in full disclosure, Danny has had 2 stud golfers that he's brought up. One, Division I golfer and plays all the time and would beat me now by 30 strokes. But in those days, I think we would have been a great foursome team.
It would have been a good time. We always enjoyed playing each other. It was a real heated competition all the time, but you did always win. And I think they say drive for show, putt for dough. You always pulled it out with the putting. So
yeah, your father was actually the only other putter that I knew that was better than me that we play with. And obviously I'm friends with Nancy Lopez now. She was 50 times the putter that I was. But as far as like people that I knew back then, yeah, your dad was even better than me. All right, let's get into some of this. Notre Dame's coming off extremely physical game with my Ohio State Buckeyes. I was not going to wear Ohio State jersey today. It's going to be because they're not playing this week. It's the first time I wasn't going to on talking with Tony that I didn't. But Ibuka had such a huge game. I had to come out with my number 2, my Mika Ibuka jersey, and he really saved Ohio State because Notre Dame did a wonderful job on Marvin. Notre Dame has a difficult assignment of now going on the road after a real physical contest and an emotional loss. How do you see it? They're favored by 5.5 over the Blue Devils.
All right. Well, again, surprisingly enough, if you just open up Google and Google Duke, right, you're going to have to scroll down about 4 things to get to Duke football. But here we are in 2023, and Duke football is showing out, right? But you do have, Notre Dame was a physical game. I think they're a physical football team, right? I think they're built for that. So I don't know that took as much a toll on them as we would think. I think Sam Hartman has been playing great. He's passing for about 247 a game. You can say Duke put a beating on Clemson, but is Clemson really who they are? I think it's a no. And I'm going to go ahead and lay the points. I'm going Notre Dame minus 5.5.
I will agree with you on that one. We are in agreement. Notre Dame minus 5.5. Let's go to who we're going to go to next. Let's go to Michigan and Nebraska next. This line's been fluctuating between 17 and 18. Brian Lundquist likes Michigan minus 17. Our guest last week, he was 4-4 against the spread. I'm on the other side, Danny. I like Nebraska and the points at home, 17 points. So they're playing very hard. I know Michigan's a better football team, and I'm just hoping for a good competitive game there.
Yeah, you want them to do well, right? Nebraska. I watched them. We all love Nebraska. As casual fans that we were of football, you want to see the program do well. And they obviously got front page prime news, no pun intended, with prime time. And Colorado beat them by 12, right? And Michigan's way better than Colorado.
I can't argue that.
I'm going to give you a stat right here that really is what got me thinking about it, right? Because you're right. 17 points is a lot of points. Maybe goes up to 18, right? It's on the road. But Michigan's only given up 23 points all year. And I don't see how they're going to give up more than a touchdown to Nebraska. And I don't see how you stop Michigan's offense and keep it. I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm laying 17. I say 38-7 Michigan.
Okay. And these are not the Bo Schembechler days of Michigan football or even Lloyd Carr or Gary Moeller. This is an offense. Harbaugh is an offense-oriented guy. Be a second time back with him on the sidelines. So I can totally see that why you would go there. We are opposite there. Might not be bad for you. Look, I'm 14-6 this year. I'm due to
I need something.
I'm due to go 1-6. Okay, let's just be honest.
I doubt that very seriously, but I do say, this one I could see me taking from you,
Okay, all right. Iowa State is at Oklahoma. Oklahoma is, you're talking about a team that can score points. They're favored by 20. The Cyclones are not what they've been the last few years.
Yeah. Iowa State's defense isn't bad. I mean, they're not terrible by any means. Oklahoma's offense, though, has been great. They've been great against the likes of Tulsa, Arkansas State. They've been somewhat pedestrian against the other two teams when they played a decent team, SMU and Cincy. But again, I know I seem crazy. I hate doing this, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma minus 20 on this as well. I think that they get it done. It's at home. I just think I think it's got to be Oklahoma with minus 20. I think they're going to just have a scoring fest on them.
All right, so he's liking the favorites right now so far, folks. Let's move to Starkville, where Alabama visits Mississippi State, and Bama hasn't clicked yet. I don't have a pick on that game, and I didn't have a pick on the Oklahoma-Iowa State game, but that's why I have our college football analyst, Danny Arp, in here, our chief college football analyst, to bail us out. And he's strong in the SEC. So how do you see it? Does Bama go in and blow them out, or just Mississippi State? You were high on them a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. You see Rogers having a bounce back game here against Alabama.
Well, I did lay it on the line with them against LSU, and I thought I actually picked them to win it, and I looked like I was crazy on that. But LSU beat them. The at-home crowd does nothing with the cowbells. Again, I think that if you watch that second half of the game with Bama last week, Milroe sort of found his groove, right? He's got a weird release. It's ugly to look at sometimes. He sort of reminds me of DJ Shockley when he took over for David Green with the Bulldogs. But I think he sort of found his groove. I think the coordinators have figured out a way to get to it. I'm going with Bama and minus 14.5.
Okay. We now have to go to the Georgia-Auburn game, and I want to say that Brian, this is his second pick. He's an Auburn alum, was on every year Auburn won the national championship in swimming. He was on that team. He's got individual titles, but he said, hey, we can't even score. We can't block against A&M. How are we going to block against Georgia? I said, I hear you. So he's got Georgia minus 15. How about you?
Who made the Georgia minus 15 pick?
Brian Lundquist, former swimmer for Auburn.
Right,
Auburn's men won like 6 straight national championships, and he was a part of 4 of those teams, plus he was the man.
No doubt about it, man. He held several world records. So
he was a United States swimmer also, but he is our TWT West Coast correspondent. And I'm like, dude, you just gave me Michigan and Georgia. I need you to be picking Arizona State, UCLA for us. But yeah, he likes Georgia minus 15. How about you?
Georgia gets McConkey back. I'm excited about that, right? We get our leading receiver back from last year. He's been nursing a hurt back, and that's a positive. But does he have the same chemistry he had with Stetson Bennett? We don't know. We hadn't seen it yet. Man, I hate to do it. Georgia's going to win by 14. Take Auburn in the points, man. Georgia's not covering.
I'm going to agree with you there and go with Auburn plus 15, but I'll say this. Georgia will play their best game of the season here. They always do, even when they haven't been clicking in the past. People were like, well, they were losing at halftime to South Carolina. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't get a chance to see that game as I was in the air on the way to see the Buckeyes that day. But here's the thing. They'll play their best game of the year. There's just no doubt about it. But I think that Auburn is better than they have played, and I think the Auburn's defense will at least show up. I don't know how much offensive production Auburn can get. I wouldn't count on much. In fact, I'd look at the under number, to be honest with you, there more than anything. But I'll go with you. I think Auburn will keep it competitive.
I like it. Now, the only thing I'll say about it is that, again, I know on our first show I said this was my wild card pick. If there's any big scare coming to the Dog fans, it's going to be there. And so it's going to be tight, but I do think we can pull out a win. Don't think we can cover.
Okay. Falcons are playing the Jaguars. Got to go over Europe to see it, I guess. Is that right? Yeah. Jaguars favored by 3. Tell me.
Well, 1, what's the obsession with London and football, by the way? I'm just putting that out there. But 2, I say you take the points that the Jags are getting. I mean, take the points the Falcons are getting and ride it. They're
I hope you're
2-1. Yeah, I'm taking the Falcons in the points.
I hope you're right. Last week, the Lions were one of my picks, and they took care of business against the Falcons. Of course, I'm a C.J. Stroud fan. He carved up the Jack. He does not look like a rookie. Where Bryce Young and some of these other quarterbacks have struggled as a rookie, Stroud is not struggling, and he's not playing for a great football team. But I'm not going to make that a pick. But I think you're on the right side there with the Falcons. Who knows what happens on the travel time over there?
Yeah, the only hesitation I got is, like you said, I looked at the passing yardage that the Lions put up on them, and that makes me nervous, right? But you got Trevor Lawrence for the Jags, but he's no Stroud, so we'll see.
Brian is on the Patriots plus 6.5, and which I'm very happy about, because that means Jake gets to put up this wonderful logo of the Patriots again, of the hiking the ball, and that's what my favorite, in the NFL. I think it's Pat the Patriot hiking that ball is the best. It's the best ever. How do you see it? Dallas favored by 6.5 over New England.
Hey, Cowboys been beating their opponents by a healthy margin. I don't think that anything changes on that. They cover it easily.
Okay. All right. So you like the Cowboys. You are big on favorites today, but that's fun. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Chiefs and Jets. I do have a play here. I like the Jets plus 9.5. They still have a good defense, even though they're struggling mightily offensively without Aaron Rodgers. Our Fred Blatchford, we call him the most interesting man in the world, the chief correspondent, talking with Tony, went up there for that game. He's like 4 plays, 4 plays. But the Jets did show up there, and I think in that kind of environment again, they're going to show up and they're going to at least play Kansas City tough. So that's my next choice is the Jets plus 9.5. And I do want to point out Brian is on the other side. He's on Kansas City minus 9.5.
It's a big number, man. You know what I mean? And I see why you're going with it. I mean, but the Jets did get hammered by what I think is one of the other better teams in football, the Cowboys. But they came back, kept it close against the Patriots, who, again, struggling with the first 2-loss start. But don't blame me, as she's saying. The Chiefs, I mean, the Jets don't have Taylor Swift. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs minus 9.5.
That's pretty good. So you're going with the Chiefs then?
Yes, Chiefs minus 9.5, man.
Boy, it's Tony versus the world here on the Chiefs.
I'm sorry, brother. I cannot do it. I cannot go with the Jets on this. So
we've got 3 minutes left. I want to reveal Stormy's other 2 plays. He likes Southern Cal minus 21.5. We still call him Southern Cal here in Texas minus 16.5. Brian's got the Broncos minus 3.5, and he's got the Seahawks minus 1. As we do this final game with Danny, the Seahawks and the Giants. I'm going to give you a couple of others that I just happen to like. The Thursday night contest, as we do this, I like the Lions minus 2 is one of my selections. And then a Friday night game, Louisville minus 3.5 on the road at NC State's other selection. But Danny, we need your help for Monday Night Football. So many people tune in to Monday Night Football in prime time, and that's the Seahawks and the Giants, with the Giants favored by 1.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. I'll say this is my change of what I'm doing. Take the 1 point, and go with the Seahawks.
Okay, Seahawks plus 1. And do you have a 5-star pick this week for us, Danny?
A 5-star pick, you just called it, is going to be Louisville over NC State minus 3.
Well, I hope you're a winner again, because your 5-star last week got there. So I'm hoping that you're.
I'll tell you right now, put that one in the books. They're going to win by 2 touchdowns.
I'm loving your confidence. So just repeating for those of you just tuning in, Danny's picks are Europe, Notre Dame minus 5.5, Michigan minus 17, Oklahoma minus 20, Auburn plus 15, the Falcons plus 3 over in Europe, the Chiefs minus 9.5, the Seahawks plus 1, and his 5-star pick is Louisville minus 3.5.
Friday night special, baby.
There you go. Brian's got Michigan, and he's 4-4 on the year. He's got Michigan minus 17, Georgia minus 15, the Patriots plus 6.5, the Chiefs minus 9.5, the Broncos minus 3.5, and the Seahawks minus 1. Stormy's his first week giving picks. His 5-star, he's USA to beat Europe. He likes Southern Cal minus 21.5 and Texas minus 16.5. I like the USA to beat Europe. I like Notre Dame minus 5.5. I like my Auburn Tigers plus 15. The USC Trojans minus 21.5. The New York Jets plus 9.5. Detroit Lions minus 2. Nebraska plus 17. and Louisville -3.5. And I know go around there, go some college and back to pro. Hey, Danny, I got about 45 seconds. Final thoughts today?
I'm excited about staying up, watching golf, getting up early, watching it, and it's always a great weekend to watch, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm on vacation next week, and I cannot wait to just watch some golf and relax. So, and of course football, but I can't wait to watch the golf too.
I may be asleep when that Auburn Georgia game's going on because I'm getting up at 1 a.m. to watch live golf. The Ryder Cup only happens every 2 years. Giving my tickets to my sister and her boyfriend. I hope they have a great time. But as we close, we got to say go USA and hope the boys do get it done.
I hope they do too. I don't mind losing that pick if I do.
For Danny Arp, I'm Tony Jones. That's all for Talking with Tony.
Thanks.